What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of A Playmaker's View. I'm your host, as always, Jayme. I appreciate you guys joining me. A lot of excitement going around. Sports are finally coming back. We got the NHL, the NBA, and me and my friend Spencer today. We're here in the studio finally, and we're going to break down our thoughts and predictions for these seasons which are resuming, and our thoughts on the MLB controversy with the owners and players, all that good stuff. Feel free, guys, to please comment with your thoughts and maybe concerns with all the illnesses possibly going around, and your predictions of who may win the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals. So, like I said, that's what we're going to be talking about. I appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll get right off the things. So here we go. All right, so to start things off today, we're going to talk a little bit about, first off, the NHL. It's kind of like a March Madness bracket, which we discussed a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So I want to get into your thoughts on the whole setup, how you think it's all going to go down. Obviously, we don't know too much about it. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, but sports are finally back, so It's a positive. I want to hear your thoughts on the whole thing and what your concerns are maybe and your predictions.
Just to start, I know I'm with every other hockey or even just sports fan for that matter. We can talk about NHL right now. I'm very excited. I was looking at my memories almost a year ago to the day. If it's not, the Blues were in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and they lifted their first ever trophy, which, I know it was amazing for everyone in this town. I know for me and you especially, it was great. But just to see, that we might get to see the Blues go back to back, for that matter, it's amazing. And I think, it's not going to be the same as what it would have been if it was just a regular, Stanley Cup Final playoffs or anything like that. But to have the 24-team tournament, I really like the format that they have. Like you said, March Madness style. I think it'll show which teams not necessarily have grown since the stoppage of play, but also to see, which teams are back and, better than ever. Like, say, the Capitals, for that matter. Can Ovechkin keep up what he was doing during the regular season? Or, will Jordan Binnington, I know it's not the playoffs like he was last year, but can he, under the gun when they need him the most, will he give that big save that they need? And I know that, no fans will be there, and we don't know where the games will be played, but the atmosphere on the ice will still be as heated as it would have been, but definitely with no fans, it does take a toll. And, that extra energy and the ambiance of the arena, it's going to be thin air. Because, no one's going to be there except the players, the coaches, the training staff. I don't even know if the announcers will be there, if they're going to be, able to go, or they're going to do it, via Zoom, watch the game and set up from their houses, We don't know. Yeah. But it definitely is going to be exciting.
Yeah, a lot of unanswered questions, but like you said, it's going to be awesome. And a good thing that you mentioned, interesting thing that you mentioned, is how the players are going to, come back. Obviously, being in quarantine, we don't know what they were doing. Maybe they have home gyms, they're millionaires and everything.
Yeah.
But for a lot of players, I think that it was pretty difficult to still train and keep their body up. I had my interview with Maroon, and he was saying it was difficult for him to still manage to get the same kind of, game-like training.
Exactly.
So that'll be really interesting, and my biggest fear is the injuries. I really don't want there to be injuries because it could really ruin a player's career.
Yeah.
But on the other side of things, people coming back, I think of Tarasenko and a lot of Blues players who are now healed, so that'll help teams out and be pretty exciting to watch. So that'll be really interesting. I want to move on to maybe your predictions for the playoffs. Do you think the Blues maybe can repeat, or do you have another team in mind that might blow out the other competition?
So as much as I would say, the Blues would go back to back, it's going to be difficult. You got to think throughout the regular season, really the Blues team's kryptonite were the Knights and the Avs. And I mean, they're going to get a chance to play them in that round robin, 1 through 4 for seeding in the West. So, we'll see those games. I mean, yes, it does matter for seeding, but it really, that everyone's going to be coming back at their own pace. And as much as everyone, would like to just hop into it and get on the ice and act like nothing happened, something did happen. And it was 2 to 3 months away from the ice. And everyone's not going to be 100%. But, with that being said, my prediction from the Western Conference, I do think the Blues will make it. Now, whether they win it or not, I don't know. From the East, I have them playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. Last year, the Lightning, number 1 overall seed, they got swept in the first round. No one saw it coming. I think they learned the lesson. I mean, I can't compare it necessarily to, Virginia getting upset by UMBC in the first round and then winning the national championship next year because there wasn't a virus going on where they had a huge break. Now, both did have an offseason, but you got to think they are coming back with Kucherov, Stamkos, and they got Vasilevsky, who's just an amazing goaltender behind the net. And I think that this could be their year. So my final prediction is Lightning over the Blues in the coronavirus Stanley Cup Finals.
I would agree with that. And like you said, I think I mentioned earlier, it's almost like March Madness.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to see, all the upsets that come in place because who knows which team is more prepared than the other.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have had a better record, but it's been nearly 3 months since a team has, been with their players, their teammates on the ice actually competing. So it's going to be super interesting. Before we move on to the trivia, let's talk a little bit about the NBA. The NBA, I think, has a little bit more of a foundation.
Yeah.
Orlando, they're going there, 22 teams. Kind of sucks for the other teams that they didn't make it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess it sucks that you didn't have the best season.
Yeah.
So I heard a report that they're going to be starting in July. Camps will start at the end of this month.
I believe the start date for the whole games is July 31st.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to be the starting date for the 8 games before everything gets going, or the 8 games will start then. We don't know really.
Yeah, I think it's the 8 games will be played, or at least they go there. One thing I want to mention, it's going to be really interesting to see. So they're going to have hotels set up for them. We're all human, and the players are human. It's going to be interesting to see how they keep them in the little bubble, the NBA bubble I'm thinking of right now. And, they're going to be testing them daily.
Yeah.
If they get tested positive, they have a 7-day quarantine. So that's going to be interesting to see how, they, get out of that whole situation. Hopefully no one runs off and goes to the parks and tries to,
I believe that they said that, the players... I don't even know I know for sure the players, coaches, and staff, they're not allowed to go on the rides, but I don't know if that's the same for their children or wives, other family members that are going with them. If they were smart, I would say stay away because you do not want anyone getting sick or, contracting the virus for that matter.
Yeah, for one, you could end the season if, half the league gets sick.
Yeah.
But on the other hand of it, you could get more people sick. And so it'd be bad. But one thing I wanted to touch on in this podcast is something I thought was pretty interesting. So the season's going to go to probably late October-ish. And then they said they're going to resume the next season in December. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on how it's going to be a quick turnaround? Do you think players will even take a day off, or will they continue to play a summer league, but really it's in the winter?
So with that, I think it does give the teams that are not being invited to this 22-team, little tournament in Orlando, it gives the teams that aren't there a little disadvantage. Because you got to think, they are not going to their practice facilities all together as a team, getting hard work in, lifting, playing, 1-on-1, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, high-speed, regular games. So, I don't know if you saw it, but I believe it was earlier this week, Trae Young was playing some, pickup game in Oklahoma City with a whole bunch of scrubs. And for that being said, I mean, from what I've seen, Trae Young's work ethic is unlike anyone we've ever seen for how young of a player and how talented he is. So that's good. But, I mean, for the Hawks, for the entire team, I don't want to bash on anyone, but I'm not sure if everyone's going to be doing what he's doing. And for the teams that are playing in this tournament, I think the little 2 months between, October and December when the season ends and when it starts, it definitely will be a shorter off season, but I don't even know if you could call it an off season because that's just like, you got to think, that's just like another break from what they've been taking right now.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because, I mean, I think coming into it, like I said, there's going to be some injuries. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep saying that, but that really is not just injuries as in getting sick, but players not being ready.
Yeah.
Before we get into some more things, let's take a little break and do some Playmakers trivia. So my first question for you, I'm going to do a little bit of hockey and basketball.
Okay.
First one is, who ranks atop the leaderboard for the most career goals in the NHL?
Most career goals. I want to say Gretzky, but I'm not sure if that's right.
Yeah, Wayne Gretzky is the top. He's, I believe it's 864, so and he's pretty far up there. No one's really close to him. The next one, who holds the most records for like a team's NBA championships? And if you know the number, how many?
It's either the Lakers or Celtics. Let's see. I want to say, is it Celtics?
It is the Celtics, yeah.
Celtics with, it's a lot. Let's see. It's more than 10, right?
Yep.
Is it 14?
No, it's 11.
11.
Pretty close. All right. Who was the first ever NBA lottery draft pick?
Lottery draft pick? I have no idea. Can I get like a little, maybe like a choices or?
He was a part of the New York Knicks.
New York Knicks. Is it Carmelo Anthony?
Way further.
Way back. Lottery. I don't even know. Is he a Hall of Famer?
He is.
Hall of Famer Knicks.
I believe he coached a little bit too, maybe. I'll give you 5 seconds.
I don't even know.
It's Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
Head coach for Georgetown.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, last one. Which team holds the franchise record for the most NHL Stanley Cups?
Canadians.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, let's move back on to some of the questions. Before we go back into the NHL and NBA, obviously the MLB is at a standstill.
Yep.
I want to hear your thoughts on what you think could be a possible upcoming season that both the owners and players can agree on, because obviously that's the biggest thing right now. The players want their money, but the owners don't really want to give it to them.
Yep.
And then there's health issues. So what are your thoughts on that whole thing?
So, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the most recent proposal has been 89 games at full pay for the players. Is that correct?
I think it was 84, but yeah,
84.
full.
Okay. So, with that being said, and that was the MLBPA sending that over to the owners, correct? With that, I'm not sure if they're going to agree with that, just because, they've been going back and forth for, what is it, like 2 weeks now? Proposal, like XX. Like, to be, I don't know if there's anything that they can 100% agree on both sides. But if it was me, like the perfect scenario, I would say 82 games, players getting paid at 100%. Now, I'm not sure if that will be a proposal or if that is ever a question, but I find it very disappointing that each side, the owners have all the money in their hands right now. All the players want to do is get paid and play the game that they love. You got to think, these players are so grateful to play a childhood sport that everyone around the country loves to play. Either they tried it or they didn't, baseball, softball, whatever it is. More than half, almost every single person at least tried baseball when they were younger. And these guys just want to go out there. Yes, safety is a reason with the virus, where they're going to play. We don't know. But just agree on one thing to get it going. All it takes is one proposal, one acceptance, one thing to agree on, and then the ball will start rolling. We don't know where it will be, who will be. It's so frustrating that the NHL and NBA can agree on something. Yes, that is just playoffs, and this is the entire season. It isn't going to be, the regular full season, but still, this country, with so much division that it's in right now, I believe that baseball can be one thing that can bring not everyone together, but it will start to bring this country together.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just so sad. Obviously, we can't really speak from the players' or owners' perspective because the money, like you said, is in their hands.
Yeah.
But I think that there needs to be a decision, and a slight part of me thinks that we may not even see baseball until the next year, which is terrible. Like you said, baseball is America's game. We need baseball. We could see football before baseball even gets played next year. But it's kind of hard to decide on a thing because if you keep bickering back and forth, there's no solution to that. So I'm hoping in the month that I have a feeling that the owners are going to kind of give in because the players do deserve the money that they're getting. The saddest part is for the players who are, the lower end. Obviously, you have the Mike Trouts who are making millions of dollars. So if they get 50% of their money, they're still making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But it's the minor league guys. It's the guys who just got into the league. That's who it's affecting, and that's why it's going to suck if they don't get their full pay. But, yeah, so back to the NHL. We're going to talk a little bit more about the NHL. What do you think on the whole injury spike situation? Do you think, we talked about players coming back from injury and helping their team out. But what do you think it'll be like? Because hockey is, one, you get hit really hard and having to skate. What do you think is going to be the impact from, injury standpoint in the NHL?
So with injuries, it can happen at any time, anywhere. But, with the 2-month or so hiatus that they've gone due to the virus, everyone is going to be equal in a sense that, no one's going to be fresh. No one's going to be loose out there. Pretty much everyone's going to be tight. They're going to have this training camp and practices and stuff, but that cannot recreate the real game time situation. And, I'm not going to say, the atmosphere with no fans being there will, take the game down a notch, but it definitely will affect players not going as hard. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it will be the playoffs, but I do think that, players coming back from injury, like Vladimir Tarasenko, and just other guys around the league that were injured while the season was going on and now are healthy. I put quotes around healthy because, you don't know until you play a game. And, that first hit on the ice, I know that they're going to try to, stay away from hitting and scrums, but it's hockey. There's going to be hitting. And, luckily, there aren't fights in the playoffs, and there weren't going to be fights anyway. But there's going to be some hard hits that some players might get shaken up from. And if someone goes down and doesn't get back up, people, the critics will say, should they have come back? It doesn't matter if the player was healthy throughout the entire season or if they're coming back from an injury. Everyone is going to be tight, and no one is going to be at 100%.
Yeah, my biggest fear, the critics could possibly, I really hope this doesn't happen, but if one of the leagues gets shut down again because too many people get sick, that's my biggest concern. One of the final things I want, you did your prediction for the NHL. I want to hear who you think has the best chance of winning in the NBA. I personally think I'm going to go with the Bucks, just because fear the deer. I've always been a Bucks fan. So who do you think? Do you think LeBron and AD, are they going to live up to their potential, or do you think it'll be someone else?
So I'll say this. I'll say two teams from each, East and West, and we'll talk about that. But I think with this, there could definitely be some sleeper teams in there. I mean, I'm wearing my Portland shirt right now. I'm a huge Blazers fan. Nurkic is back healthy. Him, Dame, and CJ, they could make a possible run. Teams like, the Pelicans with Zion and Brandon Ingram, who was playing at such an elite level before the stoppage. There are teams from the East like, John Wall. I don't know if he's going to play or not. Back with Bradley Beal, the Wizards could have a chance. The Heat with Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, guys like that, they were such a young and talented group while the season was going on. They could make a run at it. I'll say this, though. For my predictions, out of the East, I got the Boston Celtics. They're going to be playing games, a lot of games in a short amount of time. The Celtics are built very young in Tatum, Brown, Kemba Walker, 29 years old, but completely healthy this year. I think they have the best chance to make it out of the East. For the West, it's going to be destiny. I don't see any team overthrowing the Los Angeles Lakers. With Kobe dying earlier this year, people said, that it's the Lakers season. It's destiny. With LeBron, AD, Kuz, guys like their team is built to win a championship right now. But that being said, I personally think the Celtics will win this coronavirus NBA playoffs just because of how much games will be played in a short amount of time and how healthy those young guys will be.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. It's a good point. The healthiness, like you said, the destiny. It's very interesting because when that happened, I was like, wow, like this could be. It's like almost like a story, like a storybook, and finally. This whole year has been a whole story.
Yeah.
So many crazy things have happened. So I think it'd be cool to see them win and cap things off.
Yeah.
But finally, to finish this off, I just want to hear your final thoughts on the whole situation with sports coming back. Finally, what are you most excited for?
To be honest, what I'm most excited for isn't even a sport that we talked about today. But that being said, the Premier League soccer. I'm a huge soccer guy, and I'm a big Manchester City fan. Just to see soccer being played, I know it's being played in, the La Liga is getting started up in Spain, and the Bundesliga in Germany's been playing in Portugal, and just all the European countries that being started up. It's a sport that not many people. It's a sport that gets looked under the radar, especially in this country. But like we said, baseball is America's sport. I personally think soccer is the world sport. There are people. It doesn't matter who you are. There will be a kid in downtown Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. The family's homeless. They could be playing soccer on the streets versus, a rich family in Los Angeles, California who, their son or daughter goes through the academy. Soccer is a sport that is played around the world, and I think that I know that I just saw this morning that the MLS is starting up now too. Soccer is a sport that can bring this entire world together through such division that we are in, whether it being, the fact that racism is so prevalent right now, or even the virus. That sport is something that can bring this whole world together. So I truly am looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think in the next few episodes we're going to talk a little bit more about soccer because That's a really good point. Just sports in general, sports are super important to our lives.
Yeah.
And I think they all have a different impact. I didn't really consider the fact that, across the world, there's so many people that struggle, and soccer is a big, way for them to transition into being more successful. But yeah, so I think overall, we're both really excited for sports, and I'm assuming all sports fans out there are super excited. A lot of unanswered questions, but it's going to be super fun and a long road ahead of us. So appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you, Spencer, for joining us on the podcast, and we'll be back with you guys next week on A Playmaker's View.